Hello! Today there is a video about a hive for people who find it difficult, for children, for women, and for people with disabilities. Working with the hive is a pleasure. You can work sitting down, standing up, or however you like. This means that this hive is technological and convenient in every way. We have already made a video about it, even 2 videos. But many did not understand how it works, and some thought it was very complicated. In reality, it is very easy to work with, which is why even children can do it, because it doesn't take much time in a year. Then it proved to be very productive. We had a cold summer, and it filled everything with honey. But why? Because there are always 2 queen bees. Working, we never actually search for the queen bee. You can find it once a year, or you may not need to find it, meaning there are options. Now I will show you how to do it, so it will be clear. Last time I tried to explain it in detail, which made it lengthy, but working with it takes just a few minutes. This is a hive that is not just work, but a pleasure. While our multi-body hives are universal, these hives allow you to obtain a huge amount of honey, meaning several nucleus colonies per year, or a large number of bee packages with less honey, or even without honey. In other words, these are universal hives where, with the help of this diaphragm, you can perform many manipulations. This hive is primarily designed to provide 1 nucleus colony per year if needed. If it is not needed, then it also goes into the honey collection and gives honey. In other words, for honey, about honey, for the sake of honey, this hive is just fantastic. It is a great pleasure to work with it. Why? You can sit comfortably. These bodies are very small. They are lightweight, so you don't strain yourself. You don't hurt your back. Everything is easy. Do you understand? And you just sit there. Everything is in front of you. This hive is multi-body. Even though in its assembled form it has this shape, it initially consists of just 2 bodies, and everything else is added on later. So, it is very easy to remove and very easy to add on. Now I will show you. So, the hive we have initially, either when it is populated or when it has just come out of wintering, consists of 2 bodies. That is, there are 2 bodies. However, there is a particular feature in the bodies. In one of the specific bodies there is such a plug and a hole. And also in another section, just in the other direction, there is a plug and a hole. This plug can be pulled out. We need it for the winter. In winter it closes when we collect the nests, and so they remain closed during our development. The same goes for the other side. The plug is pulled out here. As we can see, the hive goes into winter very small. 2 bodies, a bottom, a lid, a top cover, and a ceiling feeder. This is how it goes into winter. Very compact. This hive is very convenient for people who are elderly or have back pain. Because all the bodies are small, all are interchangeable. It's a very good hive, not just for amateurs. It's a good industrial hive because it is a hive for harvesting honey, and it is a wonderful hive. For the reproduction of bee colonies, this hive gives only 1 nucleus colony, but this is also very good because it requires no effort. What are our actions? The bee can be fed in the spring. So for 10 days, half a cup of syrup should be given daily. This is to start a good family. It is not necessary to do this. But when the family has occupied these 2 boxes, you open it, look and see, everything is filled with bees and brood. You lift this box, check, and see everything is filled with bees and brood. So what are your actions? There is no need to search for the queen bee and nothing needs to be done. What do? We take the second bottom. We place it next to the stand. The second bottom, each bottom, whether this one or that one, has a crossbar with a cutout like this. You'll see why this is needed shortly. We place the second bottom, then we take this plug, open it, and we also open the plug on this side. Both plugs removed, we take this body and set it aside. You see that you understood. I am showing you. These 2 holes will connect when you place each body in its place. But that's it. You have these openings connected, and this is how you connected them so that it is clear to you. Here you see you have a separator grid, the same as in that body. It turns out that the bees will now communicate. They will crawl from here to there and from there to here, meaning the communication with the queen bee is not interrupted, and the bees crawl from hive to hive. This way, your bees continue to develop. When you divided the hive, your queen bee ended up either here or there. But where is she? You can't see her, and you don't need to see her, because we only come here now after 10 days. So we came back after 10 days. At the end of the video, I will attach a video from the apiary so you can roughly understand how it is all done. Everything is very quick and easy. We came back after 10 days. And what do you need? Remove the top covers from both hives. Once the top covers are opened, take out a frame from the middle and check for the presence of eggs and young brood. I repeat, this is done 10 days after we divided the hives. You should have eggs and young brood. If they are not here, they will definitely be here. Take out the frame from the middle. Aha! Look, eggs and brood. There is no need to look for the queen bee. If you see eggs and brood, it means the queen bee is working. If you have eggs and brood, then the queen bee is present. If there are eggs and brood here, then the queen bee is here. After 10 days where you do not have a queen bee, you will have emergency queen cells. What are these? I will show you all the emergency queen cells. We leave them here, and we only set aside one extra one. Here we have such a groove. Here we have such a groove. Here it is. A slot in the body and in the bottom. There is a special slot where we insert this partition with a film and a mesh. We simply take it here, and with a gentle movement, we carefully and gently insert it. That's it. And this frame, where we found it together with the bees and one queen cell, we place it in this second compartment. It will benefit from the warmth of the main family through this mesh. On top, to prevent the bees from communicating, we cover this little entrance like this and return the top covers to their place. Thus, here you have several queen cells, and here one or two are placed on the same frame in the pocket next to it. Why did you do this? It could have been avoided, but sometimes the queen bee goes out for a mating flight and the young queen bee does not return to the hive. A bird ate it, it fell into the water, a hornet ate it, something happens. This happens rarely, but it does happen. And if your queen bee does not return, then these bees will brood, will emerge, and will go back to the queen bee. It's not a big deal, but then you will lose all the effect and the honey-producing power of the family, because with this method, you have two queen bees always working for one family. 30 days after you have performed this activity, that is, from the very beginning when you divided the hive and placed the super next to it, exactly 30 days later you approach and open the inner cover. You take out a frame, preferably from the middle, and look at it from the top. Where the bees are more concentrated, you take out a frame from the middle and check for eggs and young brood. If you see them, it means everything is fine. The queen bee has returned from her mating flight. You also check the split by taking out a frame and looking for eggs and young brood, which indicates that the queen bee has mated in both cases. If by chance the queen bee has not mated here or there, it is not a big deal. If the queen bee has not returned from her mating flight here, then she has returned in the side compartment. You will just need to remove this diaphragm and the queen bee will work here. If you have two queen bees that have returned from their mating flights, and you need to develop the apiary further to increase its number, you take these two frames and use them to create a split on the side. You can also add a frame with brood and bees there. That is, these will be swarms that will turn into a strong family by the fall from the beginning of summer. If you do not need to make splits and the queen bee has mated, you simply remove this diaphragm. The bees will choose the better queen bee and she will remain. The other queen bees may fight among themselves and the bees will leave the better one. Thus, you have the old queen bee working here and the new queen bee working there. You don't need to look for either of them. Why not? You only need to observe the eggs and the brood, which are visible right away. There is no need to search for this queen bee. Swarming cannot occur with this method because the bees do not want to swarm. At the moment when they reached their peak, they had two full supers, and you divided them into two parts. They communicate with each other, but they are separated. Therefore, swarming has completely disappeared for a time. And here are your further actions. As soon as you have confirmed that you have a queen bee working here, and the old queen bee continues to work, two separating grids come with the set. You cover these hives with the protective covers, and your subsequent further actions are as follows. You carefully and appropriately place our small-sized wooden honey supers on them. You place 3 of them for now at this point in time. Then we lay the inner covers on their place so the bees continue to develop carefully. At the beginning of summer. Here they have a nest, and here is another nest. While above, the bees store honey because there is some supporting forage. The bees bring the frames that you have prepared in a systematic manner and place some honey here as planned. If the forage is not far away, you can immediately place 6 supers on top for those who have no time to come back twice. The bees will manage on their own by the end of the season. So, if someone has a very long period, that is, a very long forage, and this time is extended until the main forage, what can be done? In other words, you have a significantly extended period of time leading up to the primary foraging activity. At this point, it is possible that the nest might already be completely full if the old queen bee is still present. In the event that the nest is already full, and there remains a considerable amount of time until the main foraging period, one possible action is to carefully remove 4 empty frames from a smaller super, and then take frames containing brood from the central area, gently shaking them to avoid the need to search for the queen bee, and subsequently place them in one of the supers, shake them gently and place them securely. So, 4 or 5 frames. Instead of them, they provided, for example, 5 frames with foundation, because you still need new combs or drawn combs. It's better with foundation. Yes, at this time of year the bees are already building well, that's all. And then everything is as usual. We cover it with a queen excluder and place these supers. For example, if you have a super, you put it here, take the brood from the bottom and place it on top. I repeat, this is not mandatory. It can be done for those with a very long period before the main forage. Once everything is set, if you don't have time to check, you can immediately place the next 3 supers. And this way your bees will already be going into the main forage. You can do it all at once, but you know, if the weather is bad, it's not very good because a large volume makes it harder for the bees to heat the hive. Therefore, it's better to first give the first 3 supers, as I showed you, and when the main forage starts, or just before it, you add 3 more of these supers. When the main forage begins, you can open all those entrances that were closed in the small supers if it is hot. This creates very good ventilation, and the bees no longer fly through the grid. The main foraging bees get used to flying through these entrances right away. They immediately enter the honey supers. And there the queen bees continue to work from the bottom and produce young bees to support the forage. That's all the work, meaning it actually takes about 9 minutes a year. 9 to 10 minutes to do it without rushing. You just need to approach it. Spend 3 minutes on it, in the literal sense of the word. And there's nothing complicated about it. As you will understand, do it once, and you will see how this hive works. You will understand that this hive, how can I put it, this hive, you just enjoy it. You sit down and do everything while sitting. All these boxes are light. In other words, everything is visible here. Everything is easy. There is no need to search for the queen bee. The replacement of the queen bee happens every year without fail. Now I will show you how it happens. That is, everything is very, very fast and easy. That is, you don't waste time, and it's always convenient for you to observe. This is very pleasant. Look, we've lifted it up and see how much honey there is and so on. Meanwhile, your queen bee continues to work. So, the main honey flow has ended. We can see that the bees are already working less effectively. In fact, the honey flow is over. Everything here will be filled because this year we had a good honey flow even when the summer was cold, and the honey flow this year was mediocre. We managed to collect a bit in August from the thistles, but otherwise there wasn't much honey flow. Here, everything was filled, and 2 queen bees showed their worth. In other words, the old queen bee from last year worked without interruption, and every year we have new queen bees because of this. Beekeepers know that every year when a young queen bee is working, it is a success for beekeeping. Here, a helper queen bee has emerged, and the bees are working together with 2 queen bees. They are essentially working in tandem with each other. In this state, with only a young queen bee present in the colony, there is no swarming. And when you have such a volume, you have divided the colony and then added volume on top again, there can be no talk of swarming. We conducted tests on several hives. I will show you all these videos. So we made our strongest colonies and we had no swarming. Everything was fine. Although we didn't have a summer honey flow, our honey flow started in August. However, thanks to this method, there was no swarming, and the bees managed to develop on their own, consuming honey and entering winter very strong. Once the honey flow is over, we remove the inner covers and take off the honey supers. There are two options. You can shake the frames and blow them with a blower, meaning you simply take a frame and brush off the bees with a goose feather or a brush. Everyone does this differently. Each beekeeper has their own method. Here, we won't have a queen bee because we have screens in place, so you can just take the frames and set them aside like this. Now I'll show you how. They placed all 6 hive bodies like this, standing aside, and then approached with smoke, puffing it well. The main bee will fly away immediately, and the ones that remain, you take a little further aside. They will also all fly away and return to their place. So you have these hive bodies practically without bees, but a couple of them will remain, which is not a big deal. You can take them for processing, meaning you don't have to shake or sweep them off. You can just do it this way and carry them aside. So you have collected all the hive bodies with honey. Remove these unnecessary separating grids. We don't need them this year. With a simple motion, you just carefully take the chisel, gently pry it, and place this body in its place. Yes, I almost forgot to mention, this queen bee which is flying around here is a spare one. She is flying back. Here at the back she has a flight hole. I didn't tell you this. It's so that the queen bee doesn't get confused. So that this queen bee, which she flew exactly to her place, and this is to its own. That is, the entrance is here, back. In the first version that we showed from the apiary, we had a second entrance here. The queen bees have successfully mated, but we decided to let it fly back so that there would be no confusion with the queen bee. After we carefully placed one box on top of the other, we closed these holes with plugs. We closed them, and also on this side. Once we have closed it, that's it. Now everything here is closed, and we place the inner cover in its place. There are 2 inner covers in the set. One has a top feeder, and the other is just without it. We place the one with the top cover for winter. There are 2 that go under the roof of the set, one with a top feeder, and one simply without it. We place the one with the top feeder for wintering. This is so that it will be convenient for you to feed in the spring. If you happen to have a cold spring, you can always feed the bees. For this, you don't need to go into the hive or do anything special. You simply pour it in here, lift the lid, add syrup or honey feed, whatever you have, and the bees are fed. You don't have to worry about their feed. This is how the bees go into winter. So, the queen bee that is better, you see, and you never need to worry about her because the better queen bee will always defeat the worse one. And as usual, the old queen bee is always replaced. In rare cases, I don't know why, the bees choose an old queen bee, but this indicates that next year she will perform better than the new one. With this method, the queen bees are always of high quality because the bees continue to communicate with the queen bee through these openings, preventing any panic. These queen cells that they lay are not like the usual wax queen cells that bees create in a panic when they have lost their queen bee. But here it is not the case. In this situation, the bees continue to communicate, so the second queen bee is always of high quality. Thus, you are sending a stronger colony into winter than you usually do, almost double. Why? You are effectively combining 2 colonies together in the autumn. In the autumn, during foraging, by mid-August, your bees will fill everything with honey. That is, they will fill their entire nest and prepare it for wintering. You don't need to worry about this, because a powerful, strong colony is the key to successful wintering. Such a colony can winter both outdoors and indoors. It will always winter well. Because there is always a young queen bee and always a large number of bees in the winter, plus you have obtained good honey. I just want to clarify one more point. If someone has good foraging, meaning they are positioned on abundant nectar sources, then the volume of 6 supers may not be enough. In that case, it is possible to add 3 more of these small supers. Either just 3 supers remain, and you took 3 supers for extraction, extracted the honey, and returned them to the bees. And the bees continue to work, so it's nothing serious. So you see, everything is sealed. You just took 3 supers, extracted the honey, and brought them back to the bees. And if there is a long, prolonged, and abundant foraging, then the bees continue to work. That's all. So this hive, how can I put it, working with it is a real pleasure. This year I was really impressed. I mean, after all our universal hives, this one feels so much easier. Yes, with universal hives you can perform various manipulations, whether it's 1, 2, or 3. There are many methods of beekeeping, and here everything is very simple. You understand, it's just easy. The supers are light and everything is visible. You don't need to search for the queen bee. It's like showing any woman how it works. She will understand at least the basics of beekeeping. Even a child from the age of 12 can grasp it. Older men, well, they are of age, their backs don't work, all sorts of problems. This is just a fantastic hive. Do you want to work standing up? Do you want to work sitting down? Working while sitting is very convenient, even from a wheelchair. This has been tested. Some people say, try to do everything while sitting. Yes, we have tried to do everything while sitting and know people who live this way. It works very well with a wheelchair. Everything turns out very well. Yes, it's certainly not as convenient, but what can you do? Otherwise, a person can't do anything at all. Here, they can calmly engage in beekeeping. And not just engage, but do it productively. This is industrial beekeeping. This is a honey super, which is operated by a helper queen bee that produces honey. Not all professional beekeepers have this. Many simply use the classic method of 1 queen bee, and that's it. And they get some honey. And many commercial apiaries work with 1 queen bee. Here, there is always a helper queen bee. The bees raise the queen bee themselves. I don't want to brag, but I want to say that this hive, it is so successful. It is simply, how can I put it, a hive for relaxation. It is not work. It is relaxation with bees. So, about the equipment of the hive, the complete set of the hive includes 2 separating grids, 2 inner covers, 1 top feeder, 2 10-frame bodies, and 6 small bodies, 2 plugs, 2 bottoms, 1 such partition, and frames with Hoffman dividers. All the frames. These components are essential for the assembly of the unit. Each part plays a crucial role in ensuring stability and functionality. The frame size is 180 millimeters. This is the best size out of everything we have tried throughout our lives. The Dadant frame, the Langstroth frame. So, the Farrar frame has several options. There is the basic one of 156, which was used, and then there is the enlarged version. This type of frame is used in Australia and recently in Germany. And it seemed to us the best. That is, we tried everything in our time. For many years, we have only worked with this size. Previously, we had Langstroth hives. In our extensive beekeeping practice, we have meticulously evaluated various sizes and configurations for our hives. Through careful observation and experience, we have determined that the size we have chosen is not only optimal, but essential for our specific needs. This decision is based on a comprehensive understanding of the requirements for successful beekeeping, particularly during the challenging winter months. We are fully committed to using this size exclusively because it has consistently proven to be the most effective and reliable option for wintering our bees. The particular size we have selected is renowned for its success and is considered the most ideal for ensuring the health and survival of our bee colonies during the winter. The 2 bodies that we employ in our hives are simply marvelous in their functionality, providing the perfect balance of space and insulation. Other available options, such as the frame, we find that the line structure is sufficiently sized to adequately fit the body. The fact is that the volume of insulation possibly requires a lot of
Well, they have combined bullets for the disabled. And look at the power. It is evident that the bees are cramped and there isn't enough space for all of them to take off. You see, this family is not afraid of boreal forests, any frost or anything. 2 hives almost full of honey and bees with brood. Just imagine such strength, it will go into winter. For such a family, nothing is a problem. So that's that.